Hi friends. Welcome to week 4 of The Artist's Way. I'm feeling really shy today and I don't know why. So I kind of almost don't feel really in the mood to document this week's progress, but here we are. So week 4 is about recovering a sense of integrity. This week may find you grappling with changing self-definition. The essays, tasks and exercises are designed to catapult you into productive introspection and integration of new self-awareness. This may be both very difficult and extremely exciting for you. Warning, do not skip the tool of reading deprivation. Okay, well, I've broken the first rule. I haven't made an effort this week to not read. So one of the fundamental tasks of this week is to basically avoid reading at all costs, including in your work life as well, as much as you can. Which I get the sentiments, but obviously, you know, depending on what job you have, obviously that could be extremely hard. In my case, as a music lecturer, I have to check emails every day. I may have to read students' coursework. I have to research and refine my resources that I present to students for their learning. But still, with a conscious effort, I could minimise that. And I haven't. Oops. I wanted to, but then I just didn't. I mean, you guys know I'm really invested in the book that I'm reading at the moment, the one by Ursula Martin. She hitchhiked from Wales to Ukraine and then walks from Ukraine back to Wales. I mean, how could I put it down? You know what? I'm going to do it for week 5. Talking of revealing results, so in week 3, Miss Julia told me to revisit my childhood bedroom and take something from it to bring into my current bedroom. And like I was saying, in my bedroom, obviously it's just me and I was living with my parents, so my room was my, you know, safe haven. You know, it's where I could express myself. I mean, I can express myself quite freely within my family, which is great, but in terms of like, I was surrounded within those 4 walls of all the things that I'm interested in and make me me. And that included a lot of books. I tried to limit the amount of books I put in my current bedroom because I can only read 1 book at a time, and I'm a stickler for reading multiple books at the same time, or trying to, and then it's probably also counterintuitive at the same time. And that says a lot about my approach, I think, in life. I always have too many tabs open. Anyway, I want to reveal to you what I actually brought back. And it was a book, surprise, surprise. It's a really big book actually, on fanzines. This is just speaks to a part of me so deeply. Because I used to run a fanzine called Grrrl Groannn for a couple of years, where I made, music magazines essentially. I would go to gigs that I was already going to. I was going to gigs on a weekly basis anyway, obviously getting a bit drunk. And I just took my camera, which I'm recording on now, a Canon 770. And after a pint or 2, I would, not really care what other people thought, and I would just get my way to the front with a camera and snap photos of the band, usually quite badly, obviously, and then still to this day, like, my camera knowledge is thin. I'm not a professional at all, but because they would come out so bad in the editing process, I was like, well, the only way I can salvage these photos is by turning them into black and white. And then obviously the grain's super up, but they just looked really edgy, and I was kind of, well, Grrrl Groannn, I mean, that relates hugely to Riot Girl, that scene in that movement. And so it was very DIY, very grunge in a way in terms of its approach. So the fanzines were all in black and white, and obviously that would keep costs down in terms of printing anyway. And then therefore I could actually use my photos that I was taking. And then I started to interview global touring artists, just by emailing them and just being like, hey, like I run a little magazine like in the local Birmingham scene. Can I come and interview you before your gig? These gigs would usually happen at the Hare and Hounds in King's Heath, which is one of the most notable and iconic venues in Birmingham / the West Midlands, I would say. And you know, I interviewed people from like Jen Clower, Snail Mail, Big Joni, Hines. I can't think of anyone on top of my head now. I'm looking at the magazines actually up here. You know what? I'm going to show you really quickly. So this was, I'm really going off kind of a tangent here, but why not? Why not? This is a creative process, and clearly I'm getting less shy now, and because I was really shy at the beginning trying to record this, I think, but now I'm getting really infused and excited actually. So this was the logo, designed by my friend Jess Webberley, graphic designer by day, and probably many of her hats as well. But also, if you're into your more grungy music, then check out Grey Wave. That's her project, and it's doing super well. So this was the first issue, and Jess Webberley did all the design, right? Graphic designer. That's not my skill, and it's really fun. It was like the little pilot, and yeah, maybe that says a lot about that one. Then we went on to the second edition, and that is Snail Mail right there. So here are all my photos of different acts. We've got, who have we got? We've got US Girls, Virginia Wing, Soccer Mommy even, which is pretty cool. Skating Polly. I love this shot. Like, so cool. So cool. And then the third and final one, because then COVID hit, and then no gigs were happening, and then kind of music magazine just went but I really want to start it back up and maybe get some like Arts Council funding for it, because I never got funding for it. I just like self-funded it, and it was pretty low cost, to be honest, or at least I didn't mind putting my money into it because I was having fun. So this is Big Joni. Well, Big Joni is a band, so that's one member from Big Joni. And yeah, we'll like do interviews, and I would type all the interview up. Just great times, you know. Just got Calva Louise, which I think is pretty cool, and just highlighting like the really cool music artists / bands that are in the UK indie rock scenes. Not even UK, you know, obviously some of the artists are global, so like Jen Clower's from Australia, Hines are from Spain, Soccer Mommy and Snail Mail, they're from America, North America. So anyway, so this, which is a bit bigger than the zines, let's just do a little size comparison. Yeah, okay, I thought it'd be smaller. This speaks, you know, to a huge part of me, and I think what kicked this kind of side of me off was like Sonic Youth and reading Kim Gordon's autobiography, which maybe I should reread again. It's definitely one of my favourite books ever, and it just inspired me so much, like when I was in college. But this is perfect for a coffee table book, so it's just been on the coffee table, so it's not been in the bedroom, because but it's been on the coffee table, and it really goes, I think anyway, goes with the living room decor. Okay, so I really liked the reading for week 4, talking about honest changes, and I think I really needed to sit down and, not necessarily, obviously we're not talking to each other, but for someone to talk to me via book, via literature, about maybe things that are shifting inside, and to kind of lean on that, and to, you know, it's part of the process, no matter how small a shift, basically. And also I have been doing my morning pages in week 4, so Hallelujah. I didn't do the not reading, but I have started my morning pages finally. So with honest changes, Julia reflects a lot on the morning pages, which I guess which is what really spurred me on to actually commit myself to doing them, where through the morning pages we slowly begin to sift through what our real feelings are, which are often secret, and our official feelings, those on the record for public display. I think I really struggle with that. I have super vivid dreams, and often I wake up super confused. Often it features people that I've had connections with, from all, you know, all parts of my life, etc. And like, I always wake up from these vivid dreams like really emotionally connected to whatever narrative and storyline and the people who are featured, whether they're people from my past or strangers necessarily. And it really bleeds into my my conscious state, and it really affects my moods. And like I say, it confuses me. It confuses how I feel so much and how I exist and react to the people that are actually currently in my life. And I don't act upon these dreams or these feelings that I take away from these dreams, which I've got to always think though, like, I dream most nights and I'm asleep nearly just as much as I'm awake, so I feel sometimes I'm living like a double life. Not to be Hannah Montana about it, I never know. Sometimes it's really hard to truly know like how I feel, really. Getting real deep. But I also feel like really blessed to have such an imagination, or like a strong sense of self perhaps, but then when I wake up it's all blurry and I don't quite know what to trust. And obviously that all comes from me, so I'm always like, how do I trust myself in a way? Oh my god. Oh, therapy. Moving on. Something I highlighted, which is a quote from someone called Chekhov, maybe more like that. If you want to work on your art, work on your life. That's another way of saying that in order to have self-expression, we must first have a self to express. Now, if that kind of really doesn't deeply correlate to what I was just talking about, then I don't know what does. We arrive at clarity, and clarity creates change. And I think I've always lent into change. I've never really deeply thought about or overthought about consequences or anything. I've just been like, I feel like this, so I'm gonna do it. And then fuck the consequences. Now and I don't know if it's just because you get older and you get more settled and there's more at stake, I guess, but I feel quite reluctant towards change now in comparison. And that kind of also feels like a sense of entrapment perhaps, and maybe I'm not 100% being true to myself, yet also, again, feeding back, I don't quite know 100% what to trust within myself. Another highlighted part. People frequently believe the creative life is grounded in fantasy. The more difficult truth is that creativity is grounded in reality. Until we experience the freedom of solitude, we cannot connect authentically. Now, I love the freedom of solitude. Make no bones about that. I love the idea of solo travel, of hiking alone and being in the wilderness alone, and there's almost like a craving there for that, actually. And I think when I'm in those moments, which are obviously really rare, because how do you fit those moments in your day-to-day life, obviously, and you're also trying to juggle everything else, you know, the momentum with your art perhaps, or other people's feelings and money and time and whatever, but I think I crave that freedom of solitude, those experiences, because I know that when I'm in those environments, that's when I can kind of maybe get these answers, and that's, or maybe not answers, but that's maybe that's in those moments is the most or the closest I get to trusting my own instincts, because I have to. I'm not influenced by other people. There's no one else around. It's like you are reliant on you more so in that scenario than your day-to-day life. So that's, I think that's why I crave actually traveling alone and hiking alone and stuff like that. That's a breakthrough. At this point, Miss Julia suggests that you may well be experiencing a sense of both bafflement and faith. You are no longer stuck, but you cannot tell where you are going. Well, I think it's fair to say that bafflement is quite the correct descriptive word for today. And I don't think I would describe myself as stuck necessarily. Yet also, you know, I feel like a mole, like I'm still like sifting through the dirt. I'm not that close to the surface yet at all. And we are only on week 4. But I think there's some things that are slowly getting clearer to me. I don't necessarily know what. Those feelings have been encouraged through the tasks of this week, which let's get on to. Hi friends, I'm back. It's a different me, it's a different day. We are continuing on, obviously, with the week 4 of The Artist's Way. I just ran into some tech issues, let's just say that. I didn't want to just start this whole vlog over again, because I think there was some really, almost a bit of a real-time breakthrough in some of the things that I was saying. Basically talking about the ability to trust in my own self, to trust in my own decisions, and to trust in my own like thought process, etc. It got real, and it would just be, even if I'm not maybe explaining things the best that I could, it would just be an absolute shame to just get rid of that. And so we're interjecting, hopefully kind of where we left off. We start off with buried dreams and exercise, and I'll just give you some context about that. As recovering creatives, we often have to excavate our own pasts for the shards of buried dreams and delights. Do a little digging, please. Be fast and frivolous. This is an exercise in spontaneity, so be sure to write your answers out quickly. Speed kills the censor. So, 5 hobbies that sound fun: painting, thrifting, gaming, hiking, socialising, and movies. So that's 6. Oops. 5 classes that sound fun: pottery, life drawing, woodwork, songwriting, and an exercise class. Kind of like spin, like on the bicycles, or combat. In terms of songwriting, I did a class this year with Laura Marling, which wasn't one-to-one, that makes it sound really fancy, but it's through a platform called the School of Song. So if you're a songwriter, I'd really recommend checking it out. And they choose like a renowned songwriter, I think once a year, to basically host like a few weeks of these like online classes for like anyone around the world. So you can go back. So if you're like, oh my god, what? I didn't know about this. This has already happened. It hasn't actually passed you by. You can pay like a fee and get access to like all the like online classes and stuff. And I did that with Laura Marling. Hilariously, I actually still haven't completed it and it's been months. 5 things you would never do that sound fun. Dodgeball, picking up a hitchhiker / being a hitchhiker, wild camping solo, going to an ayahuasca retreat, and riding the iron ore train. Now, I think that's... I don't even know what country that is in, but I keep on seeing it on TikTok and it looks amazing. But actually the reality of doing it and also going to the effort of getting on it and all the things around it, it probably won't happen. And I think I'm okay with that. I think that's something I'm also kind of maturing to, is there's some things that you're not going to be able to do 100% of everything. I'm not going to be able to do everything that I want. And sometimes I do have to think, actually, yeah, that'd be cool, but if it never happens in my lifetime, like, I don't think I'm going to be thinking about it on my deathbed. Damn it, should have been on that iron ore train, you know? Moving on. 5 skills that would be fun to have. Putting up shelves and, you know, frames on the walls. I've never tried. I've always got, like, my dad to do it for me because he's a carpenter, and yeah, it would be great to know how and to confidently do it, because I've recently moved into a new house, well, this year, and I mean, well, as you may see with the paint jobs and stuff, very, very slowly things are getting done, especially on the walls, whether that's paint or things like art being thrown up. And it would just be much easier if, like, I could just do that, like, on an evening, anytime. Anyway, growing a vegetable garden. There's a perfect space in my garden where that could happen, but I don't really have the knowledge of, like, when to plant things, what to plant, pruning, you know, all that kind of stuff, whatever. Knowing yoga poses. I've been to a few yoga classes, etc. But it would be great to just kind of get in the habit of and routine of knowing kind of my own, like, favourite yoga poses that, like, really benefit me and my body, and doing, like, a routine, like, once a morning or something, like, without having to, like, follow a YouTube video, etc. Knowing how to snowboard, I guess that would be fun. I did try it once. I did have a class. I wasn't very good. And also map and compass reading, you know, whilst mountaineering out on the hills, etc. That would be great. And I'd really love to do, like, a certified kind of class, or course, should I say, on that for next year, because that's just something I love to do, and I would love to be more confident in my skills and also be safe whilst doing so, and not just relying on all trails, for instance. 5 things you used to enjoy doing. Now, it's semantics, right? I didn't know how to quite take this question in the way of, like, things that I used to enjoy doing, but if I was to do them now I wouldn't enjoy, or just things I genuinely just used to do and enjoy. Don't know. So gymnastics, used to be great at gymnastics, but hilariously I was such a shy child as well, so getting me to start something, like start a class where I was with, like, people I've never met before, other kids, and, like, the teacher, etc., like, I would be like, no. I just wouldn't even try. But gymnastics I did for a while, but then I was getting better and I was moving on up into, like, the next league or whatever, but it was with a different teacher, and I didn't know this teacher, so I was like, nah, I'm done now. And also I think what had to do with it was I had a crush on my my OG gymnast teacher, which was kind of also part of my gay awakening, so yeah, I wonder what happened to her. So I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave that class for reasons. You know, 8-year-old me, I don't know how old I was, maybe not 8, maybe a bit older, I don't know. Playing football, bike riding, skateboarding, looking at art. So yeah, I used to skateboard. I don't know if I'd even bother trying skateboarding now, but I used to do it and enjoy doing it, or at least enjoy trying. Riding around on my bike, you know, still open to that. I've got my bike still, whatever. Playing football, used to really love that. I was like up front, striker, you know. And looking at art, you know, going to art galleries and just having a mooch and being immersed in that world. So yeah, still obviously enjoy looking at art, but I just don't do it nearly as much as I used to, you know, back in like 2018, so like 7 years ago. 5 silly things you would like to try once. Skydiving. I think once I've done it, cool. Unless like I get a real like huge like thrill or like gratitude, like oh my god I love my life, which I do love my life, but you know, that kind of like, oh I'm falling to the earth and I could die kind of scenario, then maybe I would want to do it like once a year, just as a real quick impactful reminder to myself that you've got it good, so appreciate it. Going to a silent retreat, would love to go to like a monastery in Spain or Southeast Asia or whatever, and just see what happens, if anything happens. Who knows, it's an experience. Play the drums, would love to. I'd love to backpack with my mom. I've done some backpacking myself, but I just think it would be so funny to do it with my mom, and I think she'd be up for it because she's quite adventurous as well. And hilariously, on a side note, I've signed us up for next year's 2026 Race Across the World, which is a BBC, I think, TV series where normies can pair up and basically race other teams to get to like different destinations on like a budget with no phone, etc. And I just think we would be hilarious, and on TV, so that would be quite good for my music anyway. But I haven't heard back yet, so we'll see. Replicate the chocolate cake in Matilda. Now I put this on really last because I had to remember it's 5 silly things, and I've always wanted, and I've never tried, to make a giant cake. Just a normal giant cake. Like I you know, I do cupcakes, or recently, like I'm literally obsessed with making banana bread, but never like a chocolate cake. And I freaking love chocolate cake. My grandma used to make chocolate cake all the time. How many times can I say chocolate cake, I wonder? And it was like my favourite chocolate cake ever. And I mean, the last time she made it was, well, when she was alive, which was, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago or something like that. So it's got like a dear place in my heart, and I've never even tried to make a chocolate cake. And also I just watched Matilda this week, so it was on my mind. And it's something silly, and it's something that I could just do on a weekend. Like I just need the ingredients and then be at home and do it, so it's not like skydiving, for instance. The tasks. So I think we established in the first half that I didn't do the reading deprivation. There's not an S in that word, but there's an S in it now. Anyway, and yeah, I didn't do it because I kind of just didn't want to. So the other tasks, again, I'm just picking and choosing, especially if there's some really big tasks in there, and I'm just like, literally I don't have the time to, like I won't be able to do it. So, but I will try and do as many as I can. Now task 1 was really actually hard. It's called environment, and it asks me to describe my ideal environment. You know, is it a town, a country, is it swanky, is it cozy? What's my favourite season? And I'm just like, I love the autumn. I've always loved the autumn, but I love the summer because it's sunny and it's warm, and I like being warm. I don't like being cold. And then I love the spring because it like what it represents, and like all the colours start coming out and the flowers start coming out after like a long depressive winter. And this just summarizes like how I find it really, really hard to choose something and stick with it, to be honest. Let's just see what I put. Being surrounded by like-minded people, that's it, yeah, like no matter where I am. Being able to walk into town, or like, let's say if you're in a city, like you could just get like the tube or the train, I guess. Maybe not even the train. Like I want it to be close, where I can just like leave my house and I can like all of a sudden be at like bars where there's activity, there's music, there's like-minded people, there's ambition, queerness. I put in a city because that kind of does describe more so than being in the country, where there's opportunities, there's business, you're alert, there's new people, and you're a bit more carefree, and so maybe there's a bit of nostalgia there for me. A place where I can work and feel inspired. So yeah, there's surely, like if I really sat down and thought about it, there's like an invisible thread tying these things together. And I'm not saying that I don't have elements of these in my current life, but currently I'm in the countryside. I'm in a very, very small, quiet village, and the demographic here is probably old people and families. My next door neighbour did say that there are quite a few lesbians here, but I'm like, where? Where are they? Been here for some months now, where are they? But it is lovely here, it's gorgeous, like, you know, surrounded by fields, nature, wildlife, it's quiet. I did put that in my little book. And I get on with people here, but it's not, I guess it's one of those things where you can get on with anyone kind of thing if you've got that personality. And I don't mean that in the sense of being a chameleon, I just mean like being easygoing and finding goodness and commonality with basically anyone. I think I'm really quite good at that, to be honest. And that's great. But, you know, those times where you just hit it off, there would be more opportunities for that and maybe a better success rate for that, like somewhere which is a bit more hustle and bustle, if you know what I mean. Kind of like an L-word lifestyle is what I put at the bottom. I mean, for anyone who's queer, gay, whatever, and who grew up with the L-word, like, is it basically just not what we want? Is that not like our goals? Yeah, maybe that's it, you know, still being able to live in a lovely house with a swimming pool, come on, Bet Porter. But then flip to going to the planet, having coffees with all your gal pals, they're all racing off doing really cool things, and there's a little bit of drama. Do I want the drama? I don't know, probably not. But yeah, there's always just something going on, and I guess maybe it's a millennials. This, you know what, this light is way too bright, isn't it? There we go. Maybe what I'm describing here is quite millennial in the sense that, oh, my thought is already escaping me already, that our wants and maybe idealisms are really influenced subconsciously by TV shows that we've grown up watching, because that was our, in terms of screens and exposure to, like, it was just the TV, like the family TV, right? And maybe you had a computer that was shared amongst the family in like the back room, whereas now for Gen Z, a lot of their hopes and dreams and wants and aims and idealisms are based off the things that they see on TikTok. And it's false in a way, right? Like, the L word wasn't real but there's elements of reality that get pulled through for it. And same as like influencers on TikTok, it's not real. That's not what their life looks like all the time. Same as a TV show when it cuts from someone's house to them being at the planet, to them being on a movie set and then at a party all in one day. Maybe it does happen in LA. Maybe it does. It probably just doesn't happen here in the country. So next we time travel, and I wrote a letter from 80-year-old me. I mean, that's if I'm still alive. I think I'll still be alive at 80, but I'm not necessarily sure what I'll be up to. As long as I'm playing Xbox and probably like being like a streaming nonna, like, cool. I'm down with that. I'll be there with my headset on, like playing Call of Duty. Anyway, yeah, I have to write a letter to myself from 80-year-old me. So let's see what it put. Hey. It's been 50 years, ... And I hope you've lived multiple lives. Since young, you've always been curious, accepting, resilient and ambitious. I hope you kept to your values and that you stayed brave despite the monotonous moments. I want you to see the world, to do the things only you feel compelled to do, even if others don't get it. Whilst you physically can, do what scares you, yet makes you feel alive. It's easy to become dormant. Live by your own rules and get out there. You never know where you might end up. Okay, so the next task, which I'm going to indulge with you on, is to write yourself an artist's prayer. Now, this kind of seems maybe slightly awkward, maybe slightly cringy, especially if, like me, you've kind of rejected religion throughout your life. Growing up and also now, you know, I've always been free to choose, you know, if I would like to practice religion, etc., but it's never been bestowed upon me. I grew up in a Christian valued British home, but no one actually, you know, went to church or practiced the 10 commandments out loud. I just kind of grew up with values in terms of like not to be a cunt and to be nice to people and to not steal, I guess. And I guess growing up I've always been maybe a bit short-sighted, maybe a bit ignorant, and maybe I've just never, and because I've been so independent, I've always thought like my own mantra has been like, well, if I'm going to believe in anything, it's going to be me. Like, I'm going to believe in me over a god like that I don't even necessarily know or want to believe in. However, this has been quite interesting for myself since starting The Artist's Way, and it all kind of started in week 1, where not only the book does it talk about spirituality and the creator, and it's the language that's used in the book is quite, yeah, spiritual. But back in week 1, I remember I watched the famous interview that Madonna has recently done, because she hasn't done like an interview in like 10 years. And it's all about spirituality and talking about how she found her spirituality and how it led her not only personally in terms of her decisions, but also in terms of her career path, and offered, you know, huge guidance for her. And that kind of got the clogs turning for me. And I think it's great that I've grown up thinking, well, if I'm going to believe in something, it's going to be me. But what happens when you've got low self-esteem and maybe you don't have the tools, or you're not in the mood, you know, to believe in yourself? Then who do you turn to? And yes, you have friends and family, but that only works if you're, 1, going to be open, and 2, you're going to get or take something from someone else, what they've said, you know, their words or their actions or their suggestions, etc. And that might not be, you can't rely on that. You know, yes, it's a tool, but yeah, I don't quite know what I'm trying to say here, but either way, it's got to this point now in week 4 where I'm now being asked to write a prayer for my artist self. Yes, whilst it's quite a bit cringy perhaps, because it's something that I'm not particularly used to, but it's also kind of enlightening in a way. And I think there's something, I'm getting quite curious about it, basically, and I think there's something there for me off camera to explore here, to kind of believe in a spiritual guidance, where I can confide into this, whatever it is, and kind of feel like I don't have to internalize everything and then deal with everything on my own. And I just think, yeah, I think it just might help build me up, in terms of my confidence and my will, and offer me kind of some security as well. And yeah, I think it would just be quite interesting. So, you know what? By week 12, let's see where I'm at. I'm really curious. Anyway, I'm going to share with you my prayer. So don't laugh. O self, never tire of showing me the way. You brightly light me from inside, and it is my job to show the world that there's something special here, always scrapping to get out. So no matter my limited thoughts or low self-worth and resignation, please continue to paint the way, to let me be brave and see, to have the courage and respect to listen deep within, and make choices on the surface that'll unlock the deep unknown. O self, never dim your shine, I trust in you, instinct, to make sure I live and die 1,000 times. All right, let's wrap this up. A week 4 check-in. Morning pages, have I been doing them? I have been doing them. About 50% success rate, but that is better than 0%, which is basically where I've jumped from. So I'm happy. Although I'm not quite writing 3 pages, I've got to say, I'm struggling to fill those 3 pages. So half of what I'm writing is actually about what I've been dreaming, because that's often that's what's in my head. And I think maybe if my dreams are trying to tell me something, then at least again that's going to maybe come through in my morning pages. So I'm happy, I'm content, but we can do better. We're still striving for greatness. My artist date was an all-day thing, a whole nearly 24 hours thing. I went to a music conference in Leicester, which was aimed at music artists, which was great because that is what I am. Hosted by the Featured Artists Coalition. If you are a music artist or musician or whatever, do follow them online. They offer great resources and will probably be doing more events. I learned so much. I relearned, or at least re-acknowledged knowledge that I have already, which is great reassurance. I met new people in the music industry. The panels were great, the discussions were great, and then the event finished. I took so many notes. I felt invigorated, I felt motivated, and then to top it off, I got invited. There's a group of some of the speakers, etc., who were going out for dinner, and they invited me with them. And so the 10 of us went for a curry, and that was just really nice to solidify that I wasn't just there as an audience member, but I was actually kind of being sociable. It was nice to talk to new people. It was just nice to be human and to have that kind of human connection and element to it, and to make some new friends who live up in Glasgow. So I've already got some friends in Glasgow who are also very creative, so I'm thinking maybe a trip to Glasgow soon. would be really fun. In terms of synchronicity, I guess back to the artist date, you know, meeting new like-minded artists and people who work in the industry. Any issues? I feel like I'm on a bit of a, at the end of week 4, I'm on a bit of a tail off. Like maybe I'm not taking it as seriously as I could, or applying myself as much as I could to the lessons that are being implemented and focused on within week 4. So then therefore maybe I'm not being as reflective as I could be, and so I feel, but because I've identified that and I feel like that's maybe a bit of an issue for me, because I'm like, well, I'm putting my time and effort into this. If only I put a bit more effort into it, I would probably get out more of this process. Then I'm reflecting on that, and then I'm going in with a stronger mindset for week 5. And at week 5, I tell you, week 5 is going to be something special. I really think so. Anyway, thanks for joining me, especially since this has been a bit of a higgledy-piggledy hodgepodge vlog, but hey ho, we've made it, and I'm still really enjoying The Artist's Way, and I feel like slowly but surely like shifts are actually happening, and I feel good about it. So yeah, so far, like if anyone's thinking about doing it, I would really push for it. I'd really recommend it so far. Cool. Have a good week and see you on week 5. Bye.